Okay, so let me quickly create one very simple. So the L shape. Let me just quickly create that L shape and use it to explain this dimensioning. Very important. You remember when we were doing dimensioning, I said I was going to come back to one dimension once we get to isometric. You're going to see in a minute. So let me line, put on this. So let's say this is going to be one, okay, it's going to be 80, 60, 20, 40, 60, C, L. Search my view, 5, 30, 20, and I want to copy. So, okay, so E for ellipse. So all the things we've done. So I'll just I for isocircle, pick this and go all the way here. So let's just say we're going 15. Then I'll trim this place. Have that opening. And then E for ellipse, I for ISO, switch my view up here, move up all the way. So let's say we want to go 9 and select this. CO for copy, sorry, C for copy. Okay, CO for copy, sorry. Click from here. You want to come down at exactly 35. Use line to join this from here all the way down, from here all the way down. Okay, so line come all the way down 35, so should cut, then trim. Okay, that's will be there. So I have that. Then CL, I for ISO, switch my view to top. Just say somewhere here. No, you have to first of run your ellipse command. You have to first run ellipse command, then you now choose I for ISO. So 5. Okay. And this one I want to copy this. So I'm trying to do something different. Move this up, then use line to join them together. Quadrant to quadrant, quadrant to quadrant. Okay, trim this. Okay, so I have that there. Then let's do a little bit of fillet. Radius 20 if it's not too much. Radius 10. 10 is fine. Nope. Nope. This is okay. Okay, so maybe I should put fillet here. From here to here, yeah, that's fine. From here to here. So we have that, so I can delete these guys. Remember I said when you have stuff like this, you delete the line at the middle, then go to create a line, go to where the curve starts from. There should be a line there. Do the same thing here. So all these things I'm doing, they are things we have done. Hope you know that. But there's a reason why I'm drawing this, and it's because of the dimension. So this is the line. Okay. So let's assume this is our drawing. I'm going to add dimension to it. So you know that what we normally use is we cannot use linear dimension for this guy because they are not straight. So what we use is align dimension. So DIMAL for align, I gave us the shortcut. So I will say select to pick object, click on this line, draw it out. Okay, that's fine. So you can see what we're having. So I want to get dimension from here all the way to that down part, which is here. Then this is coming out. Then pick this guy. Okay, so let's assume this is it. If you look at my dimension, it doesn't really look real. It doesn't look nice. All the dimensions are just flying anyhow. They don't flow with with the design. Do you notice that? The dimensions are not really flowing with this design. So I'm going to bring up one of just an example so that we can see what I'm trying to say. So if I come here, AutoCAD, I think it's under exercise. Which one is this one? Oh, okay. Exercise, isometry, so exercises. So let me just bring one of them so we can see what I'm trying to say. I want to bring a very large drawing. Okay, so okay, still Mr. Folabi. Looking at this. It's not Mr. Folabi has said it. So we are doing this. So look at this dimension. If you look at this dimension goes, what dimension flows with the drawing? Do you understand? The dimension the way it goes. It's like the drawing is being projected out, this line is being projected out, same thing also here. This is being projected out. But if you look at that on my own dimension, it doesn't really look nice like this. So let me just do window and put this to the side and bring this to the side. I can zoom. You can see that they don't really, this looks so rough, so unorganized, you understand, compared to that. So the reason why we're having this is because by default, when you bring up the dimension, the dimension does not flows with isometrics now. It just, like we said, align dimension, just means they're aligning to the line. So we need to look for a way to force this dimension. So as to look as if it's actually flowing in this isometrics now. Do you understand? Which is why this is what we're going to be using under this dimension. I said, if you remember, I said we're going to be looking at this oblique dimension. When we were doing dimension, I said we are talking about this, but not now, until when we get to isometric. So the way oblique works is that I'll still bring our attention to this, to what we have already known. Remember, you remember the major points I always give when we're talking about um, angle in AutoCAD. We know that what east is here. Sorry, angle zero is on the east, and it goes anti-clockwise. So that means if we are to follow that stuff, this is east, which is 0. This is 90, right? This is 180, and this is 270. And if you remember, We know that isometric direction, it goes 30 degrees to this side, 30 degrees to this side. Meaning from here to here is 30. From here to here is 30. The same way if I have to do it downwards, it comes this way, this way. Meaning this place is 30, right? This place also is 30. Am I making any sense? So if you are to look at that dimension in the isometric dimension, no. This is just you are assuming this is a mirror line. Forget the down part. Look at the top part. You know 30 comes here, 30 comes here. So it's just the same way for the down part. If you are so if we trace this line, it continues all the way to here. So you notice that this angle will be the same thing with this angle, alternate angle. Do you understand? Okay, putting this thing in mind, we are going to be doing some calculations to know what direction we want it to go. So if we want to, for instance, look, please, I need to look at this. So it's very important. Look at the direction it's flowing. Can you see this direction? So if I'm going to this direction, that means 90 degrees, right? If I'm going towards this direction, this is 30. If I'm going towards this direction, what angle do you think is going to be? 150, right? Also 90 plus. So if you take 30 from 180, 150, right? So that's going to be 150. And the same thing goes this way. So if I'm coming this direction, that's 150 plus, right? Am I making any sense? That's going to be 180 plus 30. No, plus 30. This 180 plus another 30. So it's going to be what? So it's going to be 210. Do you understand? Then this one, moving this direction, is going to be 360 minus 30. It's going to be 330. So anytime you are going towards a particular direction, you need to know the angle it's going. And if I'm coming down, you know that this is going to be what? 270. So once you understand this stuff, you can use it in that drawing. So if we come to this drawing, I want this line to follow this direction. And we've already looked at it here. So if I'm going towards this direction, which is here, if I'm going towards this direction, so let me just, sorry. If I'm going towards this direction, which is the same thing, it's going to be 30, right? So we can run our oblique angle to change this to what direction we want it to go. So this is how you do it. If you come to your dimension, you come to your oblique. It's going to tell you to select object you want to change. And what we are selecting is actually dimension, not the line. So select this dimension and press enter. The next thing it's going to tell us is to enter oblique angle and press enter. So because we know it's going that way, which is 30, we do 30, then this way, this one, because we wanted to follow this. So since we wanted to follow this direction, so that means this is the angle we're looking at. So if I put 30 and I press enter, notice it goes down. If I don't want this to go this direction, I want it to move up like this. That means I'm going to change my oblique angle to, no, 90. Yeah, I want it to move up. Direction, this arrow. So I'm just saying, if I don't want it to follow this line, I want it to go its own direction, like going straight up. That means I have to look at the direction. What angle is it on? 90. So let me just show you so you see. So let me just pin this guy. Click, select this, enter. If I make this 90, you notice. Do you understand? If I want it to come into this space, that means I'm going to be using this direction, which is 210, right? Am I making any sense? Eh? For this guy, I'm just saying if I now want to still say, okay, I want to overdo, I don't want it to go straight, I want it to enter inside this place, but the direction is coming towards this direction, this place. This dimension is coming inside, not outside and not up. That means I have to look at the direction I want it to go. It's going to be 210. Right? It's going to be 210. If I want it to come inside this place like this, so it's going to be 210. But then that's just if I select this, enter 210. Okay, so it actually takes to that direction. So we can also do the same thing for this. So if I want this to also follow that direction, that means it's still 30, right? So if I go to my oblique, select this, click this, press enter, 30, it goes towards direction. And this, I want this to come down. And if I want it to come down, that means this is the direction here, 270. So if I run my oblique, I can select this, enter, 270, flows down. So the same thing goes with this one. That means I want it to come down. It's going to be 270. Press enter or spacebar for the last command. Right? So let's see. Oblique. Pick this, enter 270, and you have that. Can you do it? I don't understand. Can you? No, no, no. It's not a dimensioning tool. It's a dimension edit tool. Put your dimension. So you have to be doing it. Are you sure? Oblique, you don't have any other option than select object, press enter, then you choose your angle. You have to do it. That's for isometry. And usually you don't get to have too many isometrics in a project. Do you understand? You have more of your orthographic drawing. It's just some detail you might want to show the isometric. So that's understandable. So if I'm coming the other direction, it's going to be to 150. Do you understand? The same thing goes with this one, 150. This one, I can make it 30 and I can make it 90. Anyone I want. So select, enter 150, click, select, enter 90, it goes up. So you can see that you are now, it's now looking, this one is 150, yes. Do you understand? So that's just what I wanted to explain to you on the dimension, because when you are done creating this isometric, you want to put your dimension. There's need for you to make a dimension also follow this. Okay, so we can pick this and move this. Alright, so and also another thing is, you notice I'm trying to make sure everything is aligned, so I can just move this and let it, so maybe I'll move it out first and move it till it aligns to the same place. That looks nice. And so this one, I have to select this, switch my view so that it can allow me move accordingly, move here, let it align, so that we don't have to be explaining things that you shouldn't be explaining to our supervisor. Do you understand? So that's just that. So I can minimize this now. And then the next thing we have is one more tool. So I have to go back, move out of this isometric snap. I'll go back to rectangular snap. So there's this one tool that we skipped, and it's a drawing tool. And that tool that we skipped, they're actually two. There are two. So let's look at the first one. So if I have a line, you know that this line, we always manipulate the line. Remember, if I want to manipulate the line, I always select the line. I go to one of the end. Do you remember that? I go to one of the end and I click and I either move it to increase the length or to reduce the length. Do you understand? What if I want to really increase it at a particular rate? I want the line to, maybe I want to increase it with a particular dimension. How do I do that? If I leave my mouse, two ways we can do it. If I leave my mouse over the end, it's going to give me two options, stretch and lengthen. With no stretch. But what we want to learn is lengthening. So I would not want to use this option. I want to use the command for lengthening. Because if I go to lengthen, it's going to tell me specify the endpoint. So I will just go to the endpoint. But this is still not intuitive enough. So what I will do is, if I come to my draw tool, sorry, it's not draw tool, modify tool. I have this lengthening icon. You can see it here. The shortcut is LEN. So if I run my lengthening, you can see now I now have like three additional options. So I can decide to do the first object, that the object that I want to measure, or I want to use delta and this. So let's look at each of these options. Okay. Now, lengthen an object, you can decide to lengthen it using percentage, using total, and using dynamic. So the default that it was giving us was dynamic. So we'll start with the dynamic. So if I go to dynamic D, so what dynamic means is that you have to select the end you want to lengthen, select the object you want to lengthen, then you can now move to where you want to lengthen to. That's what the dynamic is. So you're not putting an actual value. Okay? Am I making any sense? You're not putting an actual value, you're just lengthening this thing, moving your mouse. So I'm going to escape, LEN for short. Now, I don't want to use the dynamic option. I can use percentage. Okay? I'm going to skip this delta because I myself, I don't really understand the way the delta works. So I'll just go to percentage. So what percentage is that, look at this line. Assume that this line is at 100%. I can now decide to say, okay, I want to, mind you, if you are learning, it could be reduction or increment. So you understand. So if I want this line to be 50% of this size, I can use percentage. I don't care about the value, but I want 50% of this line. I can go to the percentage option, then it's going to ask me to put a percentage value. So if I say 50%, then it's going to tell me to select object I want to affect. If I select this object, notice before I click, it has already reduced to 50%. So if I click on it, because of the percent, so 50 based on the percentage. Yeah, actually. So meaning I want to, because of the value, no. If I want to increase, double it, that means I have to use 200%. So because I said 50%, that means it knows that it's less than 100%, so I'm reducing it. So if I want to have 3 times the size now, you get 300%. So if I do that, lengthen, enter, go to my percentage, P for percentage, and you can see the value we have it. So I can say I want 300% of this particular line, and look at it. So if this is 100%, 200 is somewhere here, 300 should be somewhere here. Can you see? If I click, it increases this 3 times the size. So that's what the percentage does. So let's go again, lengthen. Then we can also do a total value. So now this total value is now the one that now deals with actual dimension of the length. I don't know the dimension of this guy, but if I want to have a length of 200 units, maybe millimeters and things like that, depending on the unit I'm working on. So let's assume I'm working on millimeter. That's the project, that's the unit I'm working on now. So I want to have 200 millimeters. I don't know what this length is. But this line, I don't want it to be more than or less than 200 millimeters. I can use total. Okay. So I'll just say, okay, T for total, press enter. It's going to tell me the total length. So I said I want 200. Then if I select this object, it's going to reduce it or increase it. If it was not up to 200 before, it's going to increase it to 200. And if it's more than 200, it's going to reduce it to 200. So now this line you are seeing now is 200. If I bring up my dimension, or if I measure this, if I use the measure tool, and I pick from here to here, you should see distance is 200. Did you see that? Okay. So that's for the lengthening. And let's just look at that delta because I don't actually know how it works. So if I go to delta, it's going to tell me to put a data length. I don't know. So let's just say, okay, we want to have a data length of 50 and select this guy. So I think it's adding 50 to it. We'll measure it. So we already know that this is 200. So if I add this data length of 50, let's do measurement from here to here. So I think it's adding. So data is more of adding to whatever. We can still do angle. Even the total self, we can still do angle with it. So if I don't want to use data length, I can use angle. Like I said, I don't really know all this. So let's 30. So it's saying the length, you cannot lengthen this object by angle. So it's saying we can't lengthen it by angle. So maybe it's because, let me create a line somewhere here, just to show that we have two things. Select J for join, so that is one object. So let's see. Lengthen, D for delta. Angle. We are going with that 30. Let's select. So it's still saying it can't. So I don't understand that angle part of it. So let's go to the next thing. So the next thing is multi-line. Remember we looked at line, we looked at polyline, right? So we know the difference between lines and polyline. And okay, let me just explain this. You know, normally if I want to create an object like a frame object, you know what we usually do is to offset, if you remember. Like for this guy. You know what we usually do is we do an offset and put the offset distance and select the object and do the offset. Let me start following. You know that's what we usually do if we want to create this internal or external part. We create the line first, we now do offset, put an offset distance. But there is a tool that can allow us create two lines at the same time with that distance. And that tool is multi-line. Inside this place. Yeah, you want to create it yourself inside. It cannot be equal now because you are trying. Because you are trying to do it yourself, but you can't. You can only try by okay. So what I feel you can do is if you turn on your auto mode, your polar mode, and maybe go 45 degrees. You can from here trace 45 degrees here. Hmm? Then while you're even coming in 45 degrees, it's actually going to be walk. So let's say 3, then you come here also 45 degrees, 3. And this is how you can make it accurate. Do you understand? So mind you, I did two things. I turned on this 45 degrees. Then I moved in at a particular distance from this edge, this corner. And whatever distance I use for this corner is still the same distance I'm going to use for this corner to be sure that everything is the same. So I think that's just the way. But then all these things are still long things. You can actually create those two lines at a go. You don't need to. You don't have to be creating one and so for us to do that, you're going to use a tool we call multi-line. Now the multi-line you cannot get it here. Is a draw tool. You can't get your multi-line here. You cannot. Okay. One way you can get it is by coming to your quick access toolbar. Remember this. So if you come to your quick access toolbar and you click on this icon that we always use to activate, remember this. So if I come here, I want to bring up show menu bar. Okay, I want to bring up show menu bar. So if I click on show menu bar, what show menu bar will do is it's going to add another menu bar where you have your file, all these things. So if we do this, it's going to add this menu bar. So this menu bar is common with the very old version of AutoCAD, all this 2007, 2010 version. All right. So it is from here that you can see that new tool. You can't see it in the ribbon tab. So you have to come here, go to your draw, then you are going to see your multi-line. Okay. So this multi-line, the shortcut is ML. The shortcut is ML, but this is how you can bring it out if you don't want to use the shortcut. So if I click on multi-line, the first thing it's going to ask me is to quick access toolbar here. You click on this eject icon, then you want to bring up your menu bar, show menu bar. But right now it's shown, so what I can do is hide and also bring it show menu bar. Okay, so if you go to your draw, your AutoCAD is not opening. It has been there since. Go to your taskbar. It's possible is that message is up, but highlight the AutoCAD. Yeah. So you have to click it again. So if we come to multi-line now, if I click on multi-line, you notice we have options. So it's telling me to specify start point, end point. But before we start specifying start point, end point, we can do our justification, our scale, and our style. So the scale is what gives you the distance between the two lines. So if you want to use it for architectural design now, that means if you know the thickness of the wall, you can just put the thickness here. So while you're moving, you know that that thickness is kept for you, so you don't have to be doing offsets. So I did not tell you about so let's say I want to create a wall with a particular thickness, let's just say a thickness of 20 for instance. So I'll just go to my scale. Yeah, is it hearing me? This I don't understand it too. I'll go with that 20. So now once I'm done with that, I can just start clicking and I have two lines at the same time. I don't need to so I can just from here now go to the length of that space. So if I know the length of the space, we can just move down to that length, put the length. So let's say this length is like 300. Then we'll go towards the direction. If we know the length for this place, we'll put the length, come down, go all the way here, go here. But the issue with this is that you notice you cannot use your object snap on it. You can't. That's just a problem with it. So you have to use the length for you to get the actual stuff. So let's just say this is going to be here. And we have that. So I can select this and move this all the way up and just intersect with this guy. Then we have flopper. Then we can now start trimming things we don't need. So let's say we want to do an interior wall. The interior wall, we can then also run the command ML for multi-line. So the interior wall is not 20, maybe the interior wall is 10, for instance. Then I'll go to the scale, then I'll say 10. I can now go to where the interior wall is, maybe it's from here to here. You can see that this is quite thinner than we have there. So you can see maybe this one gets all the way here, and maybe another one here. So let's just say this guy goes here. Mr. So we have this, put on my auto mode for a bit just to have something like this. So can you see how quick it is to do this stuff? But now I'll still come here and do a bit of explanation on it. So if I run my multi-line and go and set my scale to 30 so that we can really see what is happening. Let me zoom in here. If I click, do you notice what's happening? Where my cursor is. Do you notice where the cursor is? When I click, let me run it again, ML. If I click and draw, do you know the side where my cursor is? It's on the right hand side. So we can actually do a justification. So if I don't want my cursor to be on the right hand side, I want it to be on the left hand side, I can do that. If I want it to be at the middle, I can do that. It means a lot. So if I do my ML, so what I can use for that is justification. So if I go to justification, you notice we have three options: top, zero, bottom. So top is what we are. That's why we have that here. Okay. So the reason why it's on the right is because we are coming down. If we are going this way, it's going to be on the top. So just assume you are going horizontal. So if I want my cursor to always be under the second line, I'll go to bottom. And if I want my cursor to be at the middle, I choose zero. So let's say I want my cursor to be at the middle. I'll choose zero. And if I click, look at what's happening. Can you see? So while creating, my cursor will always be at the middle, except I move it. Anytime I click, it's going to always be at the middle of the two lines. Then I can come here all the way here, cross this here, 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 then. Okay? Do you understand? Okay. So let's now look at this. We want to trim off this line because there are stuff that are intersecting, right? So we want to trim them off. So if I come here and I use my trim command, can you see what is happening? It's not trimming. Should it see that? Let me run trim again. I want to trim this guy. So let me run my trim command, CR for trim. I want to trim this guy. Notice if I click it, normally it's supposed to delete. I'll click, it's back. So what comes to mind now is that I cannot actually use my trim modify tool on multi-line. It has its own edit tool. Multi-line has its own edit tool. So you have to run that edit tool for you to edit your multi-line. Okay. So for us to do that, you also need to know the shortcut. ML edit is the shortcut. Multi-line edit. So if I run my multi-line edit, it's going to bring up this dialog box, and these are the edit tools that we can use. So I can decide to say, okay, I want to have, so let's look at this first. I want to have a close cross. So that means anywhere you're having this cross, I want to have a kind of close cross on them. If I click on this, it goes away temporarily and tells me to select the first line. So if I select this as my first line, then I select this one on my second line. You notice what happens. So the second line is given preference over the first one. So if I want it to be the other way, that means I have to, let's undo that. I have to select this as the first one and select this. So it gives this the preference. Do you understand? So we can do the same thing here. So if we are done, let's go back to ML Edit. You notice we also have this option. So let's say we'll click here. We want to get rid of this. So select this first and then this. So it's not working. So the reason why it's not going to work is because of this line is going out. So we have to look for the appropriate edit to work for that. So in the case for this one, we can just select this and move this back. Okay, just so that we will be sure that nothing. So what we can now do here is just to cover up. So ML edit, we can choose any of this option here. Okay, so let's say we want to choose this option. We'll talk about cuts later. So if you come here, you select this first one and select the second one, the joints. So we can do the same thing here. Select this first one, but it will not work in this case. Do you know why it won't work? Because this is a cross, it's not a T. Just so if you want to do a cross, you have to run the appropriate command. So this is a cross opening. So this is the one that will work for it. So if I say cross, then this works now. Select this and select this. Do you understand? So Esther was talking about cutting. So that cutting is actually used to cut open a space. But if you notice, we have a single cut and we have a cut through. So where is that cut through? So cut all. So what single cut will do is only going to cut the first line and leave the other line. But if I say cut all, it's going to cut through everything. Do you understand? So let's look at it. If you say cut single, then it's going to tell me select multi-line. So we select this multi-line. Then it's asking me to select the second point. Just like break. So if you click on it, wherever you click is your first line. If I click this, so this is just cutting single. So if I want to cut double, like cut off, that I choose first point and the second point. So if my intention is not to cut only this line, I want to cut all the line through. So I will undo that. I'll run the ML edit again. Then instead of me saying cut single, I'll just say cut all. So if I say cut all, I select the object where I want to start the cut from, go to the next point. It's going to cut through. Just so it has one edit tool that will work with. So what I can do in this case is if I want to join this guy, what I can do is I can just use cut through for this guy. Select from here to convert it into a T. To convert this guy into a T. Then I can now go back, maybe ML edit. I can now choose maybe this option. Okay, so if I choose this option, I'll select this first and select this next. Okay, so that's not working. Select the first one first and select this. You have that. So get rid of every other thing. But you understand the whole thing. So it has one editing. You can't fillet. You can't fillet. F for fillet. Let's set our radius. Let's say we want to do a radius of 20. But you just said something good that I also says this problem. Why you stress yourself? Well, editing is the problem. So that's why it's here. You choose any one you want to use. Just you choose the one that you feel it's your workflow gels with. Do you understand? But all these things are there. Yeah. You don't fillet floor plan. Why are you filleting floor plan? When it's not engineering drawing, it's not mechanical drawing, you want to fillet it. It's floor plan, you don't fillet. You get. If you like, fry your face. You choose the one you like. But this is it. I just felt I need to explain this. It's there. So when someone is talking about multi-line, don't go and be like, you did not teach us multi-line. No, you can't do that. You just to like multi-line. You see, you cannot do anything other than that. Yes, another thing again, I keep remembering. There are some issues we're going to be running into. And that issue is this. If I have an object, so let me just quickly create this object. What is wrong? Insert multi-line up there. So let me get rid of this guy. I don't need anymore. Okay, so let's say this is here, and I have my text. Let's assume my text is here. Let's see, this is just choose a font. and just type. Oh, get out. Using rubbish font. Okay, so let's bring this up. 10. All right, finish up this. So we have this text, and this text is here on this object. So it's just more like, let's just assume this label for this object. And you know that, so the reason I'm talking about this is because of the dynamic block I explained, align option of dynamic block. Remember the dynamic block, that align allows you to align to any surface. You know, if you want to mirror, you can also mirror it. If we mirror this guy, look at what will happen. If I say I want to run my mirror command, mi for mirror, and I select this object, all of them with the text m, and I click here as my mirror line, do you notice what happens? You will not see. Let me create another shape here. Okay. So we have this. So you see the mirror very well. So if I select this and I run my mirror command, I come to this place, let's just say here, make this my mirror line. I want to erase the first mirror object and mirror. But you notice before I erase, you notice that this object is mirroring, right? But the text, is it mirroring? No. So by default, AutoCAD does the setting that does not allow us to mirror text. But if you want your text to also be mirrored, you can change it. Even though it's not available, it's there. Okay. Just wanted to show you that. So if you want to do that, you have to run your mirror text command. There's no icon for it. So those ones are things I discovered outside this. So you just write your mir text, mir text. So you see that's the command, mirr text. If I run this, it's going to default to 0. Okay. So if I change this value from 0 to 1, that means what will happen is it will activate my text to be mirrored. So if I make this 1 and I press enter, the next time I mirror now, my text will be mirrored. If I run from here to here, you can see. Hmm? Okay. So if you try to mirror it on your system, it will not go because by default it's set to 0. So you can always go into it. So that's the advanced part. So maybe you want to do your Autodesk certification exam. It's not professional, it's advanced, maybe master. That's where you see all these kind of deep things that you will not find. Do you understand? So when you are running all these courses, you have to know commands. Do you understand? Maybe if you are doing your user certification, you don't need command. They will just be telling you click here, click here. But by the time you get to professional, there are some commands you need to run. There are some places you'll be going to. Do you understand? There are some places you'll be going to that you can't find them. For instance, let me go back again to 0. For instance, if I go to my view queue, under this view, there are some, you notice I told you that these tabs are divided into panels, right? Hmm? Would you believe that even this panel you are seeing, they are not complete? So if I tell you to come to view tab, how many panels do you have there? So you tell me that you have viewport 2, name, this, and that's it. But view tab it has more than that panel. Do you understand? But it's hidden. So if I want to show the whole panel that you can find inside this, I can just right click on this place. If I right click here, I can go to the panel. Even there are some tabs that you will not see. You see 3D2 visualize. So that means there are still some tabs that are supposed to be here that are turned off. So that's the more advanced stuff. So if for instance, if I go to my panel now, I can try to say, okay, I want my visualize panel to be on. So if I say visualize, you notice I now have a visualize panel. Visualize panel is turned off. Remember, I talked about workspace. That for workspace, things that are not necessary for a particular workspace will be hidden. So that's what is happening. So that doesn't mean these are all the panels you have. It's just for the particular purpose. Visualize was turned off because there's nothing you want to really visualize in 2D lines. If it was a 3D shapes now, a 3D shape, you can now start saying you want to visualize how it's going to look like in different visual style. Do you understand? So just to explain all these things to you, okay? Just know that and know peace. Do you understand? So that's what I wanted to explain for today. Then we'll do practice. Then on Wednesday, we are going to go into our layout tab here. So that means we are beginning to round up. So we'll go into this layout tab, talking about how to set our sheet. Then we're also going to look at, before we come to that layout tab, we're going to look at how we can hyperlink objects to AutoCAD drawings. Remember we talked about that when we started. That you want to link one AutoCAD drawing to another AutoCAD drawing to show detail. So we're going to look at that first. We're going to look at OLE concepts, object linking embedding, how you can embed other software into AutoCAD. For instance, like Excel sheets, you can bring it here and work on it. We're also going to look at how to add external references, also known as XREF, and why we use XREF. We're going to look at that on Wednesday. Then once we look at that, before we now go into layout. So the layout will just be more of introduction to layout. That's after we are done with all those things. Then on Friday, we'll finish layout and talk about printout. And that's all. So all those things we've been doing, you now look at, you learn how to set them on different sheets, create different sheets for printouts and possible for exports. Yeah, on different paper. You can. I can. If I come here now, I can decide to see all of them is here. All of them are here. So I can decide to say, okay, I want only this one to be on this sheet. Maybe this one, I want this guy to be here. Only this one will be on this sheet. I can set. And so if you look at it now, I have a different drawing, I can set those things. So we're going to look at all of them. Very simple. It's not hard. You can see how many seconds I used to do it. So I'm going to stop the